Welcome to the Encouragement Engineering Podcast, where we help people to combat the negativity that inundates our daily lives with a positive perspective and positive action. Today's guest is Dr. Lori Baker-Schena. Lori is the CEO and founder of Baker-Schena Communications. She's a leadership coach, a professional speaker, works with individuals, academic institutions, entrepreneurs, small businesses, and large corporations to strengthen the management and team building skills. Her goal is to help clients achieve high levels of excellence, productivity, and profitability by reclaiming passion and expertise in their industries. Dr. Baker-Schena brings 35 years as a healthcare public relations and marketing consultant and 25 years as a tenured university professor teaching public relations and journalism to her clients. Dr. Baker-Schena holds a bachelor's degree in journalism and an MBA from California State University, Northridge, and a doctorate in the organizational leadership from the University of La Verne. So please welcome to the show, Dr. Lori Baker-Schena. Lori, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate your time today, and I'm looking forward to this.
Bob, it's so great to be here. And I want to say hi to your audience who are obviously so lucky to have you as that, daily, that motivation that we all need. You're such a great resource. So it's really an honor to be on your podcast.
Well, thank you so much. Well, why don't we get started by having people learn more about you? What brought you to where you are today? I always find that interesting in people.
Well, I've had I called my career in three parts. So I've had kind of a three-part career. My first one, right out of college, I wanted to be a newspaper person. And then I realized, as kids do in their 20s, that you work really hard for a goal and you realize it's not what you expected out of college. And I realized almost right away that after training for 4 years in a journalism program, that newspapers just weren't for me. Okay. Didn't give me the freedom that I really wanted to, pursue the interest that I had. So I ended up going into public relations, which I never thought I would do. And I did healthcare public relations. I answered a job for a healthcare public relations position, and 35 years later, I'm still doing it. So it's interesting what you call it too. But I really believe your 20s are a time to just do wild things and grow and find yourself. And I found myself at 29 not liking to work for anybody. So I ended up deciding to start my own business. And I ended up starting a public relations and marketing business for healthcare. And I'm still doing that. It's actually still in existence. And that's been almost 34 years. It's been wonderful. Wow. And then I got a call when I was about 32. They needed an emergency hire at Cal State Northridge, where I went to school, and to teach journalism. And I had never taught anything in my life. Yeah. So I said, all right, you're not asking me to do brain surgery, right? So I'll try it. And I had no idea, but I really fell in love with it. I fell in love with it so much. I ended up 25 years. I was doing my 25 years of being a professor and doing my business. Wow. And I ended up being a full-time professor because I just loved it so much, and getting my MBA and my doctorate. And it was just really, really wonderful. But as things happened, Bob, when I was 55, all of a sudden I came down, of course, it's always a surprise with cancer, but I came down with a cancer diagnosis. Wow. And a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is treatable. Mm-hmm. And I realized, I love talking about positivity, which is why I just adore your whole topic. Thanks. But I've always been a motivational professor. When I spoke to my students, I loved really helping elevate them because they weren't getting enough motivational messages. So I decided to start my own motivational speaking business and also leadership coaching to help people be better leaders. And it's been going great guns for the last 7 years, and I really enjoyed it. So I left a tenured position to do my own thing again. And it's just really a wonderful way to reach people.
And that's a good aspect to remind people of, because I think in the educational environment, there is, and I've seen it too, speaking to different groups, there seems to be a gap, if you will, of that encouragement for students. It's not easy for everybody, and it doesn't matter what their grade level is. They could be having issues at home, personal issues, whatever it may be, but that encouragement you can give them about doing something, about who they are, about the possibilities and hope they have, you can watch their face just light up, and that's what's invigorating. And thank you for doing that, because I know in college there's a lot of professors that are just there for the time, they're getting through whatever material, and they don't give that extra touch. And when you find one that does, the classes are full. And
Absolutely. And people need encouragement. And you know, of course, I'm telling you this with your encouragement engineer, but you know, we can't take that for granted. So many students are told they can't do things.
Right.
Like you can't really do this. You know, there's too many nurses, there's too many teachers, you know, you don't have the background, you don't have the skill set. And I say, no, don't listen to outside individuals. You know, you can do it. And that simple push, having simple encouragement, that's what I really love about what you do. And I know I keep on saying that, Bob, but we don't see it enough.
Right.
In the academic realm, in the corporate realm, in the entrepreneurial realm. And I don't understand why. Like, why are people so negative? Have you ever explored
Oh,
that?
yeah. And it's interesting because there's actually a course, I think it's in, I want to say in Pittsburgh. I want to say if it's University of Pittsburgh or it might be Penn State. There's a program for the study psychology of positivity. And what they found in that is, you know, the actual benefits of positivity. It reduces stress in the work environment, it reduces healthcare costs for the corporations. You know, there's more productivity because people are more encouraged, more happy to do what they do, more happy to interact with people. I mean, why not have fun where you are? You know, if we're on the green side of the grass, let's continue a fun time. It can be fun,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I might swipe that.
That's all right.
That's good.
Well, and there's a piece that I really like with your profile, the pivot to positivity or to the positive. Explain that for us.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. Bob, has anyone who's been negative ever moved anything forward? I mean, just from a totally objective opinion, negativity does not move anything forward. Negativity keeps you stuck.
Right.
So then you have to think, what moves you forward? Well, positivity does. And you see that, you know, in athletics.
Mhm.
I know any winning team, whether at the college level or in the pros, they don't have a negative coach, because if they had a negative coach, they would be cranking at every mistake a player made or a call that a ref made, right?
Yeah.
But so then you have to be positive no matter what, because negativity doesn't work.
No.
So if we can translate that into the work environment, why be negative when you know it's not going to move people forward? Even if there's layoffs, even if there's budget cuts, there's a way to approach life from a solution perspective that you don't have to be negative, or else you can just as well stay stuck. It's truly just, it's, for me, it's just black and white in terms of negativity versus positivity. I don't see any benefits to negativity, except it's easy, and it's easy to be miserable. It's easy to complain. It's easy
You
to
have
have
plenty of company.
you can, yes, absolutely.
And that's the best thing. I mean, you talk about it. I'm in down here in Tampa, so I understand that positiveness in a team. We're in the Super Bowl now because Brady helped,
Congratulations.
yeah, Brady helped convert that
Absolutely.
negative energy into productivity, into production, into hope, into here's what we can do. He's been there. He's got experience to do that. And same thing in a work environment. You're going to have people that are tenured in an educational environment, or been in a company organization for 30 years, whatever. Oh, well, we've done that before. It's always been done this way, blah, blah. That doesn't, like you said, it's stagnation. It draws people down. You can watch the energy in the room drain out of the room. You've got to give that hope. You got to give that positive perspective so that people can see there's an opportunity. Is it going to be easy? Not necessarily, but there's an opportunity. I think that's what people need to see. In corporations, have you seen that when people see more of an opportunity, whether it's ability to work, advancement, whatever, that you see an energy about the organization?
Absolutely. There's a couple of things that really can spark employees. I do a lot of training and employee engagement.
Okay.
And one of them is to understand why they are working for this company in the first place.
Okay.
For example, you see a lot of people in academia, like the administrative arm of academics, the people who run the offices, and they get bogged down in all of the minutia, and they don't understand what they're there for. And what they're there for is to educate young people and give them access to education that can eventually help them grow and become happy, working, career-oriented adults.
Right.
The same thing with the corporation. Even if you have no matter what a corporation does or a company, the employees have to know the mission and the fact that what you do is enhancing the lives of others. Whether you make concrete, but concrete can really add to a home or to a business. What does concrete do? Or real estate or law, whatever it is, or whatever that is, if you can help your employees with the mission and why you are here and what the good is, that is such a lift, because it really lifts everybody and gives them purpose. And that whole purpose-driven thing is crucial. And the second secret to employee engagement is giving them a path of leadership. Saying, you know what, be sure to give them regular, reviews, but also if you do this and this and this, we can move you this and this and this. There's a future for you in this company.
Right.
And if you can envision a future, even for your hourly employees, and figure out where because everybody wants to grow.
Yeah.
Whether, even if it's, laterally as opposed to, up the chain, you'll find a happier, more motivated workforce. And you have to mindfully do that. You have to go in there and say, we're going to be positive and we're going to give employees a reason to be there.
And that's a great point, because so many times you'll see the people that have been there a long time and they're just walking in like, Eeyore, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta go to, gotta make the donuts. But what are you there for? I mean, whether you're at a desk answering calls, you're critical to that person.
Yes.
Especially a live person. When that person calls in, gets a live person, especially in today's, technology, it's like, wow, you're a godsend. And that's a great feeling to have. You're their hero. Okay, now I'm a hero. See, and people will start to sit up a little higher when they see that. That's a great, great reminder to people about that. With today's environment being virtual the way it is, and it has grown since COVID started and so forth, have you seen a shift in corporations? How is that taken over, or how is that being perceived with, okay, now they're at home, they've got to do multitasking with make sure the kids are doing their schoolwork, which is not easy by any means, and, doing everything else on work environments as well. Have you seen that a decline, if you will, in that perspective or in that positivity?
Yes, it's very difficult. I've spent, I'm a professional speaker. I had 7 gigs cancel in April last year alone, 2020, just because all these live events changed.
Yes.
So I had to pivot my world to a virtual world. So I started giving virtual presentations, which were actually turning out quite well. Not as fun, but it is what it is. And we have a lot of positivity. But a lot of that was teaching people how to work at home.
Yes.
Companies, because it's not, I worked from home for 33 years, but it's hard. It's like swimming. You have to understand how to stay focused, how to balance everything, how to set boundaries, how to discipline yourself, how to stay motivated. So there's a lot going on there. And leaders are truly tasked with keeping people's morale up, even when they're away from the office. So that triples the need for good leaders and good leadership. And the key, Bob, I think, is communication, is staying in close touch with your employees, not on that micromanagement level, by checking in and saying, how are you doing? And what can I do to help you be successful? Right. What's working for you and what's not? And that mindfulness really helps, because a lot of employees they're working from home, but for other employees, it's very lonely. It's their only chance to really be interactive. And other people who have the childcare and the child education thing, it's just, and a lot of people are taking care of older parents, and their college students came, their kids from college came back. It's very tough. So that being the case, you have to be super mindful as a boss, as a leader, to really be sure that your employees continue to understand why they are important and that you are there for them to be successful. The communication is crucial.
And I think you bring up a great point, because that, if you will, that touch, just every once in a while, hey, how are you doing? And don't just blow it off, but really take a few minutes and find out how they are doing, what's going on. And they may spew a bunch of, stress, and that's fine. But you're letting them do that. That shows that communication. It shows that understanding that you're there for them. And I think that's critical, because like you said, now people, virtually, it's a whole different ballgame. They've got 5 times the stress working at home, where they didn't have that because they were more focused in the office.
It really does. And the fact that you're allowing that employee to be heard is crucial, and that you're listening and being an active listener so that they do feel heard. That's how people feel respected, and they become more productive when they feel respected.
And that's a great reminder to people, because we all have stress, we all have things that occur in our lives. We all need that respect to each other. We don't know what everybody's carrying. Somebody's carrying, like you said, both ends of the spectrum: an aging parent, a college student that comes home, and then maybe smaller children that need that help to focus. We had my niece's daughter over for 2-3 months, the beginning of the school year. My wife was helping her with school. They were on programs for school till like 6 p.m. sometimes. I mean, it is boom, boom, boom. And that's an 8-year-old.
That's just ridiculous. My heart goes out to those kids. I got to say, they should be out there playing, and maybe a half an hour of school. I just, it's but as someone said, we're living this in real time. So I read a great quote this morning: "We're building a plane while we're flying it." Yeah. I just read that from I'm in Los Angeles, so we've been the epicenter, and they're trying to navigate this whole mess. But I thought that was very interesting. But we do have to give ourselves a break too, because truly this is, and everyone hates that word, unprecedented, but it is. Yes. And so we've never really done this. And so I think hopefully, my fingers are crossed, that we learn from all the things that we're doing. We learn from.
And the last time, they say 1918 when the influenza epidemic, but even then, technology's changed so much. There's a lot of factors that have changed. So, yes, hopefully we'll all learn from it.
And Bob, you and I weren't there either. So.
No. No. One of the other things you mentioned is ways to find joy daily. Now, what are some ways to help people find joy daily? I think that's important.
Well, I have a whole thing called the solution shift. Okay. It's a paradigm where instead of living in the problem, you live in the solution. Good. So instead of just complaining about problems, you take a look and you say, okay, this is the problem. What can I do to have a solution? And when you start shifting your mind to a solution versus a problem, you'll really elevate yourself from victim to empowered. And it truly moves you forward. It gets you unstuck. So I think that finding joy itself, joy is a choice. Yeah. You wake up every morning and you have choices about how you're going to approach your day. And given every day something horrific happens to you, I mean, without a doubt, you're going to get a client's going to be upset, your kid's going to be puking, something's going on that's not going to be, unicorns and rainbows, right? So that be like, grow up and realize that things happen. You're going to wake up one morning and maybe you'll have a cancer diagnosis. What are you going to do? You've got to say, you know what, I'm going to approach this from a positive point of view. What can be done, and what can I do to help the situation? Right. I know it's important to really, grieve when you have to grieve, but these problems are going to happen. So how do you approach them? So the first thing you do is say, I'm going to have a good day. So I wake up every morning. First of all, I'm really happy to wake up every morning. I like that whole grass is green, because, you don't have to have cancer to know that you could have been hit by a bus the day before, right? Yeah. So, and with COVID now, it's all of a sudden every age, it's a little scarier. Yeah. So you can have a choice. I woke up, so everything else is frosty. So you wake up and you have joy and decide that. The second thing I do is I tell people to put on a positivity shield. Right. And what that means is, you really have to, how you go to the gym and you build up your core. And when you build up your core, you don't have to go to the gym, but just doing exercises, you build up your core, and then everything else works better for you. Right. Well, it's the same thing personality wise. You have to build up that inner self-esteem, that inner confidence. And when you do that, people's negativity won't impact you as much. And one of the first things you do is you put on that positivity shield. So no matter what people say, you take it for a grain of salt. You figure, consider the source. Yeah. And then you try to realize what in your world can flip that around to be positive. I'm big on constructive, criticism, but I'm not big on people who are very judgmental just because they're miserable.
Right.
And when you can differentiate someone who's telling you something because they care about you and they want you to be successful versus someone who's saying something negative to you because they're envious and miserable, you need to figure that out for yourself so you can, really thrive as who you are.
Right.
And so how do you do that? How do you build up that core? One of the things I recommend to everyone is start a strengths journal.
Okay. Yep.
And a strengths journal is every night you wake and take the time to give yourself 10 minutes, write down every 5 things you did good that day, that
Right.
you really shined, and what you have in your personality that actually allows you to be that good. And when you start doing that, even if you skip the weekends, that's, 25 a week, 25 different strengths a week, you're going to start feeling better about yourself and starting to evolve into that person who comes off as confident and positive, because people really are drawn to that and they can be inspired by that.
Right.
And the last thing, the joy is I'm big on gratitude too.
Right.
When you wake up, name things you're grateful for. Focus on what you do have and not what you don't have.
Right.
Even in the worst days, I'm really happy that we have flush toilets and microwave ovens. Those are my 2 go-to. You see these old, these great shows on TV where the old, the Victorian days and everything looks so romantic, but you realize they were still peeing in an outhouse, right?
Yeah. All right.
So that's not so much for me. So, and of course we love microwave ovens too, because they're just fabulous. So no matter how bad my day is, having that toilet, things are going to be okay.
Yeah, we have running water, and it's always interesting when people, my cell phone broke. Yeah, it's a first world problem. I get it.
Exactly.
There's other areas that don't have that.
Try having your toilet broken. There you go. That's a great point.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like the air conditioning. You want that fixed as soon as possible.
Especially in Tampa.
Yes. Well, and what you mentioned, there's a couple things with that joy, to find joy and so forth. So what are some, looking at the opposite way, then you mentioned some challenges, you cancer diagnosis, whatever it may be, that's a big one, but we can look at that many different ways. So what are some ways with overcoming the challenges? Is it similar skills, or is that a little bit different skill set that people would do both in a personal and corporate environment to overcome challenges?
Actually, it's the same skill set, interesting enough. And there's 2 main parts to finding joy. One is figuring out what you can control and what you can't.
Okay. Yeah.
And really doing a deep dive on that. Because let's say, for example, that you have a boss who's just miserable.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance you can't change that person. Okay. So you have always remember you have choices. You can either try to find another job or try to work in that framework where you don't take whatever he does or she does personally and continue to work on the skills that you need, or to continue to figure out solutions to work around that person, or have a dialogue with that person and actually say to that person, I really appreciate the fact that you are watching me very closely. Let's say we're a micromanager.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that you're watching me very closely, but I have to tell you how it makes me feel. It feels like you don't trust me. And I want you to know that you can trust me. And I want you to know this is how you can show me. Why don't you give me a project and then see how well I do? And when you come from that help me succeed versus you're an idiot type of, that kind of communication, right, that you can find solutions. So there's always solutions. You're never stuck. Everyone thinks that you're stuck, but in work and at home, if you have a spouse who is, or a partner who's not doing something, you can talk about the fact that how it's affecting not how bad that person is, but how it's affecting yourself, right, and what you would like, what your needs are. So some those kind of conversations, finding those solutions that will work for both of you, that will hopefully end up being successful. And then that's all you can do. You can bring up solutions, and you can't control how anyone's going to react to you. And so that's the thing you have to remember. But if you focus on what you can do and how you react to the world versus how people are going to react, then it really does have a mind change. Bob, you've got a terrific podcast, but you're going to have, someone's going to wake up one day and they're going to say, yeah, not so much. You know that, and it's not you. You've been doing the same thing. You're your authentic self. You're helping, but that person might be having a really tough time in his life. So
Right.
all that stuff, you have to realize what you can control and what you can't. And you'll find there's very little that you can control. And once you let that go and let go of the guilt and the perfectionism and trying to be someone you're not, that really opens up a whole new bandwidth that you can find joy with and find solutions to. It's just that real positive mindset. Which is the second part. You have to dedicate. You got to say, you know what? No matter what, I'm going to be positive. Nothing is going to. And it's like building up a muscle. It just takes time.
It does. And you bring up a couple good points there. One of them, like you said, have that conversation. That reminds me of some topics that come out of Crucial Conversations. Great book that talks about
my favorite book.
You know, you got to have those. It may not be easy. And like you said, do it from the direction of how it makes you feel, so they understand what's going on a little better. And the other is, it always bringing back that you're going to be positive and control, letting go of what you can't control. That's a big piece of what you're talking about. You got to let it go. It's like I always say about worry. Worry's like a rocking chair. You do a whole lot of effort and get nowhere with it. You don't need to carry it around with you. So let it go. You're not going to, none of us have a crystal ball to tell who's going to respond how to what. It just doesn't. And we don't have it. So why worry about it? Why consume your brain with that?
Exactly. Just focus on what you can control about it. My cancer story is I went into the hospital. I was like puking. And so they gave me, they found there was a blockage in my stomach. And so they went in and all of a sudden they found cancer. They didn't know. And I was a healthcare writer, so I knew plenty about it. Right. And there was 2 days where they didn't know what kind of cancer it was. So when you have a stomach tumor, it could be something that can wipe you out in 3 weeks.
Right.
Or you can be treatable. Well, obviously, at the end of the story, because I'm here 7 years later talking to you.
Yeah.
but those 3 weeks, so I was really devastated. I got the news and I'm thinking, all right. So after crying for 2 hours, I kind of got bored. I'm a positive person. So I said, all right.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I realized I put in perspective the control and not control. Some people don't even have 3 weeks. Some people are mowed over by buses or violence or a sudden heart attack. They don't have those 3 weeks. So I'm going to make those, if it's 3 weeks, I'm going to make it the best 3 weeks of my life. I'm going to tell the people I love that I love them. I'm going to tell people that I needed to talk to for years what I think. And I'm going to bring around people that I just adore. I'm going to really make it 3 beautiful. I'm not going to be a victim for three weeks. I'm not going to spend my last 3 weeks saying why me or woe is me. No way. That's just not the way I'm going to choose to do it. And, Bob, this cancer, it'll come back, at some point. I don't even think about it because when it does, and we'll handle it. But right now I can control how I want to live my life. Right. And how I want to approach it. That's other stuff. Can't control a thing. And so, it's just a great way, a great mindset to have, especially when things are tough.
And that's a big thing to deal with, if you will, just like death in our lives. That's permanent. Okay. I had to deal with that when I was very young. From 6 years old, my mother passed away from cancer. And then 2 months later, my grandmother, my grandfather on Christmas Day that same year. I learned, because my parents were older, this was going to occur again. And as it did, as I grew, but I looked at it differently. It's not, and it wasn't when I was 6 years old by any means that I figured this out, but not until I was much older. But I figured out that I was here for a purpose, and that purpose is to help people enjoy. Like you said, if you got 3 weeks, enjoy it, make it the best you can. If you got 30 years, enjoy it, make the best you can. You're here for greatness. Let's share that, and let's, experience that. And the only way to do that is not focus on the negative, but focus on that positive. So great job with that, and especially in the environments you deal with.
Bob, it's interesting. I remember reading your bio, and my mom died when I was 11.
Wow.
and she died of cancer. And I remember I had that connection with you. And it's interesting because what it does to kids when you lose parents. And I think you can go one of two ways. You can go down a negative victim route. I lost my mom early, and I'm going to be miserable, and it's going to be horrible. Or you get that deep sense of life is short and every day is a gift, and I'm going to go and make my parents proud and really follow that inspiration.
Right.
And it's interesting that we both pivoted to that,
Yeah.
having that loss, because that's a tremendous loss, that mother loss, that you can never make up. But you certainly can continue living a very joyous life, even if that happens. And all my family's gone too, right? I mean, my nuclear family, brother, sister, father, mother, and yet I find joy every day. And I just think that it's that just, this is why it is. So I connect with you on that level so deeply, because it's what kids happen when, you lose parents.
Well, and you look at the bigger realm of anything that goes on, work related, kid related, family related, or just blown tire, whatever it may be. Why not enjoy? I'm not saying a blown tire is fun by any means. It's not. You get dirty, you get sweaty. Okay, you got to change it. Traffic is whizzing by you. But okay, one, you have the skill to know how to do it. Two, you can do it, or you've got a cell phone that you can call somebody to come and take care of it for you to make sure you're okay. But enjoy your time. Enjoy who you are. Grow who you are.
And absolutely, and that is exactly a great example of control over no control. You have no control whether something's going to hit your car, like a pebble, or you're going to have a blow. There's nothing you can do, but you can't control how you're going to get angry and lose 3 years of your life because you're going to stomp around, or you're going to call up, I would be the calling up the other.
Well, I've done it too.
But it's the solution. But that's a beautiful example. Or losing our mothers, we had no control over that, no control. But we do have control over how we're going to live the rest of our lives. So when you get to that point and you really realize that, that's when it starts to get real positive for you.
Yeah. Good. Well, I'm encouraged just listening to that, because I appreciate that will continue, because I look at things that way, and I can sleep easy at night. With 3 boys, I got to be able to sleep. So, they're going to do things. I pray about it and I let it go. There's not much my hand's not on them, I can't control it. So why worry? It doesn't do you any good.
And what a great role model for your kids. I mean, that is ultimately what you're doing, is you're showing positivity with those boys.
Yeah.
And that is the greatest gift you can give them, that teach them how to go through the world, navigate the world, so that they can have a positive outcome no matter what is thrown at them. And, I raised my kids with gratitude and appreciation, and they really do well navigating their joy. All 3 of my children, they're old now, they're 40s and their 20s. But they really know how to navigate things, because they've given that strength and that solution. I'm not a victim, and I don't need to be a victim.
Right. And that is critical, because that shows them you've got to make the effort for that change. If you want to stay positive, it's an effort, because things are going to happen. It's, you've got to respond to things. You can't just react to it.
Yes, that's good. Yes.
Thanks. Well, Lori, where can people find out more about you on the internet, on your website? What are those items so that we can make sure they have that information?
The best way to find me is on my website, which is www.loribakerschena.com. And send me an email. Let me know what's going on with you. I really love speaking with companies and with small businesses about how to elevate employee engagement. So if you're working at a job that they need some positivity, a good injection of positivity, that's my favorite thing to do. I also do a lot of one-on-one coaching, but my heart is really with companies that really just need to get on the positivity train.
Yeah. And there's, not only now, but, future, that's always something that's, I believe that's needed, because I do the similar type of scenarios. And just talking to people, when you can just talk to them and show that energy, show that invigoration. People look at you like you're kind of weird. Yeah, but you're going to get something out of this. And that's the part I enjoy.
I love that too. You bop in there, they haven't seen anything like you,
Yeah. Well,
But
great. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for, all the insight you've offered us. I really appreciate it. I know the audience will appreciate it. I look forward to this. And we're going to have all your connection information out there so that the people can, get in contact with you, see more information about you, and follow you as well. So thanks for being a guest on the Encouragement Engineering Podcast, Lori. I really appreciate it. And thanks again for your time today.
Thank you very, very much. And I encourage everybody listening to choose joy.
Great. Thank you.